Hello everyone, my name is Aftermath and welcome to Throwback Tuesday. I had an idea. You see, I wanted to dedicate one day in the week to games that are a bit older. And I'm not talking about like retro old here, I'm just talking about quite a bit older, like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 games. Games that I enjoy a lot and that would otherwise not have points in creating a lot of meaningful content about them so long after the fact. So this video is kind of done like rapid fire format. That means that I will not really edit it too much. But if I have a fitting scene, I will use it. Other than that, I'll try to get the footage matched, but whatever. Let's talk about how I had this idea. And I had this idea because I spent the night trying to find a roguelike that suited me and went through quite a bit of a staple, like Binding of Isaac, Doom Roguelike, Tales of Mayal, Sword of the Seven Stars, just to name a few. And at like 5 or 6 AM I was scrolling through my Steam library and I saw that one old favorite of mine called Risk of Rain that was still installed, and around 5 AM I decided to just boot it up and play it again. So here we go, along comes Risk of Rain. Now, Risk of Rain is a bit special. It is a 2D side-scroller with a few minor nuances. The classes play very differently, and the way difficulty is done in this game is pretty damn neat, actually. You kill monsters to get gold and experience on the way, and you try to find the teleporter. And the teleporter will teleport you out into the next level after 90, or on the highest difficulty 120 seconds. But before you can teleport out, you have to kill a boss and kill every remaining enemy. After you exit the level, you lose all your gold, but since gold is very common here and you can kind of grind for it, since there's an ongoing random spawn element, it's kinda alright, and you can kinda get the items on the stage before you progress to the next one. There's 7 different stages, from which you will see 5, and then there's a final stage. Now, if you find all treasures from small, there's treasures on every map from small, medium, and large, and you can buy them open with money, like 25, 50, or 100 on level 1, and it goes up from there. Then there's the random choice. You have the choice between 3 items. One you can take, the other 2 disappear. Then there's statues, where you have to pay life points or money, and you don't get 100% of the time an item out of it again. Sometimes it's just a loss. And of course then there's little challenge modes you can do. For example, kill 5 imps before they run away in 10 seconds. So something like that, basically. So let me dig a little bit into difficulty here, because it's a roguelike, alright? One death, you're dead forever. There's 3 difficulties: easy, normal, and hard. And while those difficulties don't absolutely influence what you're doing, rather what they influence is a little bar on the top right. Do you see on the top right around there? Do you see that bar in the very corner? That's the risk meter. Depending on the difficulty, every X minutes, where X is 10 on easy, 5 on medium, or 3 on hard, the difficulty ramps up. It goes from very easy to hard, and when it reaches ha 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 ha, not a joke, from which it just stacks harder and harder. That it happens by just having time progress. So, albeit you can farm gold, you can get all the items on every floor, the game gets progressively harder, and you have a sense of urgency, because trust me, the last boss is actually really hard on high difficulties, especially if it has been stacked a bit. Now, of course, it's not only more HP and more punch what the enemy have. If you have a higher difficulty on certain maps, you spawn certain unique enemies. Sometimes you spawn stage bosses just in mini format, and of course you spawn elite trash, which is just basically normal enemies and harder with some modifiers on it. Modifiers are all color coded. Red, for example, is always flame, green heals allies, so on so on. It's pretty much always the same thing, but you can see it nice, neatly, and cleanly. Now, in this game, it's very hard to find yourself in a situation where you're hopelessly underpowered. And if you're hopelessly underpowered, your best bet is to just go the fastest way you can to the teleport, go to the next level, and do it again, and go to the next level. Because if you don't jump difficulty more than once between the levels stay on a very even level, even though they itself get progressively harder, while you can catch up in that time by just rushing to the teleporters. Alright. And if you are hopelessly underpowered, you're most likely you're seeing it because you're dead. It's pretty much that simple. Now, don't worry though, you can stack almost every item indefinitely, and only items that are prone to crashing the games are limited. So you can stack a critical modifier 50 times, or hit on health 60 times if you drop it that much. And talking about dropping it that much, don't be fooled by this game. it is very punishing. You can drop those items that much. However, to get them that much, you have to play that long. Now, some classes are more punishing than other, but I'm going to talk about that later. Now, if you reach the end of stage 5, you can decide whether or not you want to board the mothership and play another stage. Now, you can finish the game if you board the transport ship, however, it becomes really hard. The last boss is not easy, and you will definitely die a few times. Otherwise, you have a second choice, which is going to a 6th stage. Now, the 6th stage is any of the 7 stages, just harder. You will see mini bosses there. You see a halfway boss. The bosses become uber forms, which are basically just stronger, and basically the game at that point ramps up extremely. Now, you don't have to beat 5 more stages to have the choice again. If you enter stage 6, you have the choice between going to another stage or to the end stage pretty much every time you finish a level. Now, it becomes extremely challenging, but not really unfair, because in this game you can kite a lot. It will definitely take some retries to get good at it, and definitely take some retries to get the last boss killed, because the last boss especially can be unforgiving. Now, speedruns exist in this game, and they have died there. That's how bad it can be. Now, not only this is very diverse, but also the characters are, and I talked about this before and I'm going to talk about it again. You have a total of 12 available characters, which is a lot. Sadly, I don't have all of them unlocked, so I'm instead going to show 3 characters off, which is the Sniper, which is Bucket, and which is Accurate. Now, for example, let's take the Enforcer, something I'm not showing here. He has a very large, powerful shield he can put up. And he has a shotgun, so it's low range weapon. Now, if you attack from front on his shield, you're taking like 95% reduced damage. You're not taking damage at all. However, if you get flanked or attacked from above or below, you're basically toasted. And because you have this large shield, you can't just redeploy it instantly everywhere. You actually have to take your time. So take your positioning great, and then you can win. Now, another one, which I actually showed off a bit, is Accurate. Accurate is basically a fairly fast melee fighter that is all about stacking damage over time on your enemies. So you stack damage over time, you run away, you stack damage over time, you run away, out of harm's danger, you're not that tanky, you're going to die pretty fast, and then you, of course, they have the hardest hitting attack guy in the game, which is the Sniper. The Sniper has the ability to straight out one-shot multiple enemies at the same times. However, to do this, you have to hit timings. You have a little bit bar that is going back and forth, and if you don't hit it perfectly, you're really not doing a lot of damage. So you're basically having some kind of QTE to play with. And then there's my favorite, which is Chef. Chef is a robot that throws knife, puts people in oil, singes them in flames, and makes his next skill much stronger with his ultimate ability. Chef, his boomerang cleaver just goes back and forth, and it's just a lot of damage it deals. It's fun to clear out a lot of AoE with that. Now, you might be wondering, but Aftermath, some of those characters like the Sniper, he must be shit alone, right? Bucket must be shit alone. Accurate sounds like shit alone. You're wrong. Some of those characters are legit shitty when you play alone. That's why you don't have to play alone. Risk of Rain can be played co-op with up to 4 players. Now, that means one of them hosts and the other 3 play with him. Now, you can play whatever character the host has unlocked, and every achievement you get is for the host save game. So if you have everything unlocked and somebody else has nothing unlocked, you're not going to play with everything if he hosts. But if you host, he plays with everything. Basically, the way it works is 4 people can play the game at the same time. It, of course, spawns more enemies, it gets harder, but it's also very fun. Now, of course, this is one of the few benefits of being able to play with 4 players. Now, there is the thing that you don't have to forget is that this game is made in Game Maker and can henceforth crash a little bit. As I said, some items are limited to 10, so you can't crash the game anymore. However, there is also artifacts, and artifacts are part of the longevity of this game. So let's talk about the longevity of this game. Let's talk about that. First, till you get every single character in the game, some time will pass. Especially Huntress takes a while to unlock, a little bit of luck. And if you want to unlock those faster, you have to play on hard, on monsoon difficulty, which is so incredibly hard. This is going to take you a while till you even get used to the speed of the game, because every 3 minutes the game goes harder. And it's already starting on pretty hard. So it's like, monsoon is not a joke, you play that with friends usually. Some characters require the dropping of certain items, which is always bad in a roguelike game. Like, oh, I'm not sure when I will ever drop those items. But that brings me right to the artifacts, because the characters, while they are unlocked with certain items, what you can drop and consistently get out of runs are artifacts. Now, artifacts come in 10 forms, I think. And artifacts basically do the following thing. They change a modifier in the game. For example, there's an artifact that changes it so that you only spawn elite enemies, or an artifact that changes the game so you can't buy items, you only drop them, or an artifact that lets you choose the item you get. So if you open a large chest, you can select any of the items that could be in a large chest. If you select a small chest, you could select everything that would be in a small chest. Now, there's also one that makes enemies explode, and that damage everything around them, including enemies. And that has crashed my game before. Now, what I'm trying to say is, while this game isn't crashing anymore as much as it used to be 1 and 2 years ago, the game actually did get patched this year to make sure it's not crashing anymore that often. This game can also lag a little bit because of the amount of things you're flying. Like you're seeing in the background right now, maybe a little bit. Very early game though, by the way. I didn't want to spoil anything, so I took early game. It's still already a clusterfuck, alright? It's a clusterfuck of clusterfucks. Now, this is not getting better. But anyway, those artifacts allow you to have different multipliers and select what items you get. You can do some crazy bullshit. You have 100 friends. And artifacts can't be just gotten by playing the game. You have to find them. And not every character can find the artifact. For example, if you find a broken wall in the first stage, on Arid Mesa is what this stage called, you can shoot yourself through it, but you can't punch yourself through it. So every character that can punch could get easier onto the ledge, but can't get through there. However, every character that shoots might not jump high enough. So with a little bit of luck and items, you can get all those artifacts pretty easily. Sometimes you need to use certain characters. For example, this broken wall, you're not supposed to do it with a shooter or with a melee character, because neither of them can do it. So you're supposed to do it with Miner. The Miner character can jump and kill walls with melee. So this is why it's important to have the characters. With the characters you can hunt for the artifacts quite easily actually, since artifacts drop on the easiest difficulty. You just pick the character and then you either hope for good drops, or simply that you find the artifact by playing the right character on the right stage. And this actually makes it really easy to hunt all the artifacts. Also, not every artifact is hidden. Some of them are really easy to get even without items and no matter what character you play. But yeah, that adds a lot to the longevity, and some of them help with unlocking more characters. Again, Chef is unlocked by dropping 4 ingredient items. They are all in white chests. It could take ages to get them. It could be on your first run to get them. However, with Commander artifacts, you get them 100% of the time, the moment you want them. So, Risk of Rain, in short, is so much fun. I love to play it still. It's the only roguelike that I have clocked over 100 hours in. I'm still shit. Get that. I've beaten it a few times fair and square. I have not played it for long enough to say that I could still beat it consistently. And I have to admit that at this stage it is probable that I'm looking for 1 or 2 friends to play with to make it a bit easier, more fun. And maybe, you know what, why don't I just upload a Risk of Rain gameplay 1 or 2 days from now, like a full gameplay, put on medium difficulty with Commander artifact, a real build, a real character, so you see the game a little bit, back to the roots. I had a few of them very early in my YouTube career. I'm not sure if they're still up, but I'm going to upload. Once this video releases 1 or 2 days later, I will put up some Risk of Rain as well. So why don't we do this? The game is around $10 on Steam. You can get it easily. There's a forum if you want to find some people to play with. People are still fairly active on it. And the wiki is also completed. There's like nothing missing on it. So it is developed. It is also 3.5 years old at this stage. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying Risk of Rain too. If you're deciding to get it, it's a great game, and I will just play a little bit more of it. It's one of those games I always like to come back to, which is why it was my pilot for Throwback Tuesday. Thank you very much. My name is Aftermath, and as always, see you next time. Oh, the final rating for Risk of Rain, I totally forgot about that. The final rating for Risk of Rain, alright, is cloudy with a Risk of Rain. Yes. Man, that was forced. Alright, never mind. Actually, if I had to rate the game, I would rate it an 8 out of 10 at this stage. But yeah, it's cloudy with a Risk of Rain. You get it? Alright, cool. Aftermath signing off. My name is Aftermath, and don't forget to have a great day. See you next time.